You decide whether it's good news or bad news. And my show is kind of the anchor in prime time. And I'm going to deal with the things I've always dealt with. Real people talking about real challenges, looking for real solutions. But those have changed to include social issues, right?
No, she's got to ask you this question.
Yeah, I got to ask you this question because though they can't diagnose anybody, you know, from afar, somebody that they haven't examined, doctors, therapists, a lot of respected psychologists out there, really big-time, big names, are saying that Donald Trump is showing signs of narcissism, which, by the way, one of the symptoms is preoccupied with the fantasies of unlimited power, success, and brilliance. And they're questioning that he has narcissistic disorder. Number one, do you think that's a mental illness, narcissism? And if so, is he fit to be president?
Y'all won't believe what just went down on The View. Things got seriously heated when Joy Behar and Dr. Phil went head-to-head in what might be the most dramatic showdown we've seen this season. Joy came out swinging, and I mean really swinging, dropping a bombshell accusation about Donald Trump that had everyone's jaws on the floor. She didn't just call him narcissistic, she went full psychiatrist mode, claiming he's a textbook case. And honey, she brought receipts, listing off everything from his obsession with winning to his constant need for praise. But when Dr. Phil stepped in, let's just say Joy might have met her match, because what happened next had everyone clutching their pearls.
I was a little closer to him. I would have said, what is your problem?
Right.
But I didn't.
But you know what his problem
is.
is.
But my body language was, I'm not Joy Behar.
So here's the tea, darlings. It all started when Joy launched into this absolutely passionate takedown of Trump. And let me tell you, she wasn't just recycling old arguments. This time she came prepared with the DSM-5 in hand. Can you believe it? She was literally reading from the psychological Bible itself, insisting that Trump fits every single checkbox for narcissistic personality disorder. And she had the whole panel eating out of her hand. Sunny Hostin was nodding along, dropping hints about all these psychologists she's apparently been chatting with who totally agree. Even Whoopi, who sometimes stays above the fray, was giving her that classic Whoopi nod of approval. And Ana Navarro, she jumped right in, basically saying these aren't just red flags, they're full-on emergency flares for anyone in leadership.
To me, the tragedy was the injustice, in my opinion.
Which part? Which injustice?
The criminal trial. The fact that he was not found guilty.
Oh.
Yeah. But he was found liable later,
yes.
civilly.
Like Trump is found liable.
Yes, he was the same thing. Everything goes back to Trump.
Until he's gone, I will not rest.
Now at this point, everyone thought it was just going to be another typical View segment taking shots at Trump. The audience was totally here for it, and social media was already blowing up. But honey, nobody was ready for what happened next. Dr. Phil, looking cool as a cucumber in that signature style of his, wasn't about to let Joy have the last word. And when he started speaking, the temperature in that room dropped about 10 degrees. He started off so politely. You know that way he has of being nice while he's about to drop truth bombs? Look, Joy, I respect you, he said in that smooth Texas drawl. But let's be careful here. And then he just systematically started taking apart Joy's argument like a master surgeon. He made this brilliant point about how there's this huge difference between someone showing a few narcissistic traits and actually having a full-blown personality disorder. And then he really got cooking, explaining how tons of successful people, we're talking business moguls, CEOs, and yes, even past presidents, often show these exact same traits. High confidence? Check. Massive ambition? Double check. Thick skin against criticism? Triple check.
You know, people talk about narcissism, but they don't really know what it means. So I brought a list from the DSM-5 about what narcissism really is, because if I asked people to stand up and define it, they wouldn't know.
All right.
And let's just take a vote. One, has a grandiose sense of self-importance.
Check.
Check. Okay.
Next.
2, is preoccupied with fantasies of success, power, or brilliance, which you said. Check. Okay. 3, believes that he or she is special or unique.
Check.
Can only be understood by special people. 4, requires excessive admiration.
Oh, check.
Has a sense of entitlement, which means is very thin-skinned.
Check.
But Dr. Phil wasn't done, not by a long shot. He dropped this absolute truth bomb about how dangerous it is to start playing armchair psychiatrist with political figures we don't like. The whole panel went completely silent. And let me tell you, getting the View ladies to all shut up at once is like trying to herd cats. But Joy Behar? Oh, honey, she wasn't having any of it. She came back swinging, her voice practically rising an octave as she doubled down. "Come on, Dr. Phil," she practically exploded. "We're not just talking about confidence here." She was getting all worked up about Trump's constant lying and how he attacks anyone who dares to challenge him. That's when Dr. Phil pulled his master move. He asked why we're not applying the same psychological microscope to President Biden or other leaders. The silence that followed? You could hear a pin drop. Joy tried to brush it off with a, "Oh, come on, Phil, and don't you love how she's suddenly on first-name basis?" arguing that Biden isn't out there bragging about himself or starting Twitter wars. The panel was nodding along like those bobblehead dolls you see on car dashboards. But Dr. Phil, he was just warming up. He started pointing out how the media loves to play favorites, focusing on one person's flaws while conveniently ignoring similar behavior in others. And then, oh my word, he delivered the knockout punch that nobody saw coming. He turned that mirror right back on the View itself. And let me tell you, the looks on their faces were priceless.
You're saying no school children died of COVID?
I'm saying it was the safest group. They were the less vulnerable group, and they suffered and will suffer more from the mismanagement of COVID than they will from the exposure to COVID. And that's not an opinion, that's a fact.
For the first time ever, and I mean ever, Joy Behar was actually speechless. Dr. Phil had just gone there, and he went all the way there. He started ticking off those narcissistic traits one by one. Need for admiration? Check. Superiority complex? Check. Dismissing opposing views? Double check. And then he had the absolute audacity, and I mean this in the best way possible, to ask if maybe, just maybe, some of those traits might apply to the very people sitting at that table. The tension in that studio, you could cut it with a knife. Dr. Phil wasn't pulling any punches as he called out how The View often shuts down different opinions, how they practically feed off their audience's validation, and how they react when someone dares to challenge them. "Y'all have built a platform where the loudest voice wins," he said, and honey, you could see Joy Behar practically squirming in her seat. Her face was doing this thing where you could tell she was trying to keep it together, but inside, she was fuming.
Your opening statement, which was how horrible it is, that Donald Trump is talking about
that's
all
what you,
of these
I'm
people.
sorry,
You know
Becky,
what I
that's
think
what
is
you said.
horrible?
You said,
Whoopi, you know
you
what's
said
horrible?
that
When
it
people
was,
who
it's
shouldn't
okay.
be here end up children of American citizens.
You know what's hard?
Just when you thought things couldn't get any more explosive, Judge Jeanine burst into the conversation like a tornado in a trailer park. And darling, she came armed with receipts. She started defending Trump with this passionate energy that had everyone's head spinning. "You want to talk about narcissism?" She practically shouted, "Let's talk about results." And then she started spilling all this tea about Trump's private philanthropy, his charitable work, and all these apparently secret good deeds he's done behind the scenes. But she wasn't just defending Trump. Oh no, she took it a step further and started comparing him to the Obamas. Can you believe? She went there, questioning their Netflix deals and book advances while supposedly lecturing everyone else. The whole studio erupted. Whoopi tried to play peacemaker, bless her heart, arguing that being charitable doesn't automatically make you a saint. Sunny Hostin jumped in, trying to remind everyone about all the controversies, but Judge Jeanine, she was standing her ground like a soldier in battle, insisting that Trump has done more for working-class Americans than any of these elite politicians who just talk the talk. The energy in that room, electric doesn't even begin to describe it. It was like watching a professional wrestling match, but with words instead of body slams. Everyone was passionate, everyone was fired up, and nobody was backing down.
I'm questioning, why is Dr. Phil there? What is
Because
Dr.
it is
Phil
now a
doing
reality show. This is the new reality show. And I'm
show you why
hoping that
he was
we
there.
can put music behind this.
Yes.
Because it's only going to be a matter of weeks before we start to see.
Great idea.
I mean, just folks showing up. What is going on?
By the time the dust finally settled, it was crystal clear that this wasn't just another catfight about Trump. This was about something much bigger. Dr. Phil had basically exposed this massive elephant in the room about how the media loves to play amateur psychologist when it's convenient. He called out all the double standards and selective outrage that seems to fuel these political discussions. And Joy, bless her heart, she was trying to maintain her composure, but you could tell she was rattled. She might not have admitted it out loud, but Dr. Phil had struck a nerve. The whole conversation had opened this massive can of worms about media bias, political narratives, and who actually gets to decide who's the problem. The best part? They're asking for your thoughts. Was Dr. Phil right to challenge Joy's armchair diagnosis? Do you side with the View ladies on this one? Did Judge Jeanine make some valid points? Or was she just stirring the pot? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for all the latest celebrity drama. Because trust me, honey, there's always more tea to spill.